Announced all the way back in 2019, Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign was set up to be the long-awaited sequel to an incredibly popular strategy game, Knights of Honor. With so much talk around when the next historical Total War will be, wondering if they're going back to the times of medieval knights and siege weaponry, could this be the saving grace for the medieval RTS genre? However, even after an exciting announcement, dev blogs and information with a supposed 2020 release date, mutter started to die down. And even now, people are wondering, where did it go? What happened to Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign? Knights of Honor was released back in 2005 by a company called Black Sea Studios and their publisher at the time, Paradox Interactive. It took the grand strategy from games like Civilization and brought it to a new mix with RTS battles and gameplay on the overworld map. Comparisons could be made to something like the Total War series, especially at the time, just after the launch of something like Rome Total War. However, Knights of Honor brought way more complexity when it comes to the strategy roles of the players. I feel like most people are in two boats about this game. You've either played it to death as a kid, or you've never even heard of Knights of Honor to start with. Yet despite this, it's not got a lack of ambition. Taking place in medieval Europe, there was over 100 playable factions for this thing. Yep, you heard me, 100. All with their own unique playstyles and history tied to them. The goal of the game, to become Emperor of Europe. Not in the angry Napoleon style, but more in the epic civilization power struggle kind of way. The map cut up into provinces, each ruled by one city and several rural areas containing, of course, your subjects, villages and farms. The cities would give you the opportunity to build up your infrastructure, production, and of course sort out a way to create and forge weapons and armor to give to recruited troops, and look into the far beyond, to places that you might not own. At least, not yet. The game was widely received in a positive light, with great reviews from both critics and players alike. Additionally, at the time, a vast modding community was born, in order to keep up with the hungry player base beckoning for something more. Yet, since 2005, it's been radio silence. It never looked like there would be a sequel to the title, yet in 2019 that all changed with the announcement of a second in the series, with the title Sovereign. The announcement came with some interesting revelations about development and the team behind the Knights of Honor games. As mentioned, it was developed by a company called Black Sea Games and published under Paradox Interactive. Yet, in 2008, they were acquired by Crytek. You know, the guys behind Crysis and the original Far Cry. This deal, however, didn't really work out in the end, so Black Sea Studios were acquired again. This time, with a name change tagged on. You might see where I'm leading with this, with a certain RTS powerhouse, seeing Black Sea Games as a studio, picking them up and renaming them to Creative Assembly Sophia. Yes, you heard me, the Total War developers themselves wanted a piece of this RTS studio. During their time at CA, the developers, formerly known as Black Sea, helped with some DLCs and expansions for Rome 2 Total War, and developed the ever infamous Total War Troy. Make of that what you will. So why am I telling you this? Well, apart from it being an incredibly interesting insight to the past of the devs, it's also important to note the studio split from Creative Assembly and went back to their old name, Black Sea Studio, under a new publisher, THQ Nordic, who have some massive titles under their belt, with it announcing this new game, Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign. The new game is set to take players back into medieval Europe like the first, using the same grand strategy and RTS mashup that has worked well for them in the past. If it ain't broke, why fix it? It looks like the new title is going to stick with many of the things that people loved about the last. It's been so long since the first title all the way back in 2005, doing something completely different might be too big of a risk for a game this hyped. They've still got the provinces, cities, building up trade, production, and of course the armies. One of the biggest improvements on the surface level at least is of course that graphical upgrade, and also some of that gorgeous looking UI. Sleek yet efficient, giving players enough information without breaking you out of that immersion of the setting. Yes, I'm looking at you, Age of Empires 4 stress test, with your silly little blue gradient backgrounds. But the battles, oh the battles, this is where it's at. Being able to form armies of hundreds, if not thousands, to take to the fields or besieging cities, cavalry, archers, infantry and artillery. It looks to be the perfect match of Total War and Crusader kings. But is that such a good thing? You know, whilst I'm sure people are looking forward to this game, and I'm sure there's definitely some nostalgia glasses at play here, the new Knights of Honor game is going to have to push some big moves in order to keep up with the 2021 landscape of gaming, and specifically RTS gaming. You see, as mentioned, it really does look like a great mix between Crusader Kings with the diplomacy, focus on massive grand strategy spanning over the whole of Europe, yet with the complexity of total war battles, getting down in the dirt and immersing yourself with the period. But if it's really trying to do both at the same time, can it compete? You have both of these powerhouse franchises already dominating their own niche in the strategy genre. Sovereign is trying to take over both of them at the same time. It's ambitious, and I really can't wait to see the result, but they've got a lot to do there. Yet such competition is always good to see, forcing both sides to strive, and in this case, maybe even a trilogy of powerhouse studios making these RTS games. And whilst Knights of Honor 2 has the name behind it and the developer pedigree, it has a lot to live up to, especially with the competition out at the moment, which is why I thought it was something worth noting, at least from a more objective and outside perspective. But hey, Resonant, we saw this back in 2009. What's going on with the game? Okay, I get it. Look, this is why I wanted to make the video in the first place. The ever-asking audience always wants more, whether it's info, trailers, or in this case, long-awaited gameplay. You may have noticed lots of the initial announcement trailer has been reused over and over throughout the video I'm making currently. And there's a reason for that. It's all we have. The game was set to have a release date in 2020. That obviously didn't go to plan, but there wasn't really any announcement for that delay. The Steam page just kind of ticked over from a 2020 release to 2021 without anyone saying much. Don't get me wrong, the developers haven't been silent. They're streaming almost every week with developer chats, talks, podcasts, and discussions about features, and of course the much needed questions from the community. Yet still nothing on a release date. As far as I have seen, it has barely even been mentioned in any of their constant developer updates. There is also that thing bugging at the back of my mind, that the Steam page now says 2021 as its release date, and with less than 3 months left of the year, that really doesn't look very likely. With no new info or an announcement, it would be the most rushed and surprised release of all time if they were still trying to push it into 2021. Yet despite the many developer blogs and the Steam release date, we have seen very little gameplay, which worries me. It's great, the developers aren't hiding, they're willing to show their face in all these podcast and dev talks, but where is the game? It worries me that there has been a real lack of gameplay. Could this indicate towards development struggles along the way? At this rate, I'm thinking a later 2022 release seems like a more logical option, as the lack of time left in this year seems like a good a reason as any not to release now. But hey, nothing more can really be said until some real announcements or gameplay at that comes out. But what are your thoughts on the title? Could this be the Medieval 3 Total War killer, or do you think it's going to slot nicely into that strategy genre and open up a new avenue for budding RTS gamers? Let me know in the comments down below. But leave a like to the video if you enjoyed it, leave a dislike if you didn't, slate me in the comments and make me cry to sleep tonight if you really want to. But until then, I will see you in the next one.